Picture this. It's Monday morning, you're just sitting down, sipping your first cup of coffee, and you find out that your customer databases, your financial invoices, your source code backups, and your production API keys are completely exposed to the public internet. Anyone, literally anyone in the world can read them. And the crazy thing? No sophisticated zero-day vulnerability was exploited here. There was no Hollywood-style hacking sequence against your infrastructure. It was just one single bad permission. You know, cloud storage is brilliantly efficient. It is honestly one of the easiest services to deploy in modern tech, which is exactly why it's also one of the easiest places to make an absolutely devastating security mistake. For a startup that's moving 1,000,000 miles a minute, a public bucket can expose highly sensitive artifacts without you ever even realizing it. And the truly terrifying part about all of this, if you log into your cloud console, that bucket might look perfectly healthy. There are no blaring red sirens. It's a silent failure, quietly leaking your startup's lifeblood while you're sitting there thinking everything is totally fine. So that brings us to the core question we're answering in today's explainer. Can an unsecured bucket actually destroy your startup? I mean, are the stakes really that high? Or is this just security theater? Well, spoiler alert, the stakes are exactly that high. Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. Here is our roadmap. 1. The public bucket nightmare. 2. The cloud security model. 3. The dangerous misconfiguration. 4. The startup domino effect. 5. Locking down your cloud. And 6. The ultimate security checklist. Part 1. The public bucket nightmare. Why startups are uniquely vulnerable. In a massive enterprise, data is usually pretty heavily segmented. But in a fast-moving startup, a single cloud storage bucket often becomes a massive catch-all repository. It's kind of like a digital junk drawer, and it creates this natural friction between speed and security. Look at the accumulation. It's so common for one bucket to hold backups, application logs, analytical reports, and deployment artifacts, all jammed in one place. And startups move incredibly fast, right? An engineer might open up a temporary public permission just to test a quick deployment or share a file, fully intending to remove it an hour later. But they get distracted, and boom, that temporary permission is now permanent. Because cloud exposure scales instantly, that one little mistake doesn't just expose data to a couple of people, it exposes it to the entire internet. The impact here goes way beyond just confidentiality. We're talking about massive compliance violations, crushing incident response costs, and a catastrophic loss of customer trust that can totally disrupt your business. Moving on to part 2, the cloud security model, understanding IAM and permissions. To understand how this nightmare actually happens, we really have to separate authentication, proving who you are, from authorization, proving what you're actually allowed to do. So the crucial point is this. A cloud object is protected by its access policy, not by the mere fact that it lives in the cloud. Simply tossing a file into Google Cloud does not automatically make it private. If your IAM policy allows public access, well, the cloud provider will happily serve that file to anyone who asks for it. The protection comes entirely from how you configure the access policy governing that specific bucket and the objects inside it. Part 3, the dangerous misconfiguration. Building a safe demonstration lab. Listen, to really understand this threat, we have to simulate a bad policy, but we've got to do it responsibly. Let's establish our safe boundary for this explainer right now. Whenever we talk about testing vulnerabilities, we are strictly talking about using a dedicated, isolated test project. We use synthetic files only, things like a fake demo customer.csv or a training secret.txt. You must never, ever use production customer data, real credentials, or go out scanning unrelated public buckets on the internet to test these concepts. Professional security always relies on operating strictly within authorized environments that you own. And this brings us brilliantly to the core configuration failure. Think about the expected state. Your bucket is restricted strictly to authenticated, authorized users inside your organization. Now contrast that with the actual state in our nightmare scenario, where anonymous or public access has been granted. It's also vital to note that this isn't just about read access. Even though read exposure leaks highly sensitive information, if write access is exposed, an attacker can actually modify your files. That creates a massive supply chain risk, where someone could inject malicious code right into your deployment artifacts, compromising your entire application from the inside out. Part 4, the startup domino effect. From a single mistake to catastrophe. Once that public access is open, an attacker isn't just downloading random files. They're actively hunting for predictable file names, configuration files, and exported databases. Let's walk through exactly how this escalates across 5 stages. It starts with domino number 1, the public bucket. Files are out in the open. That knocks over domino 2, data exposure. Your customer PII, your business logic, engineering documents, they're actively leaking. This inevitably leads to domino 3, which honestly is often the fatal blow: credential discovery. Startups frequently and mistakenly leave hard-coded API keys, database passwords, or auth tokens in config files stored right in these buckets. Once the attacker grabs those secrets, domino 4 falls: cloud expansion. They use those stolen keys to pivot into other cloud resources, accessing your live databases or hijacking your compute instances. Finally, the last domino crashes down: the business impact. You're now staring down massive downtime, grueling legal and compliance work, and a total loss of customer trust. Just like that, one fallen domino knocks over the rest.
Part 5. Locking down your cloud. Remediation and offensive strategies.
Okay, we need to stop this chain reaction, and we do that by pivoting to practical remediation through the principle of least privilege. Let's map these vulnerabilities directly to their fixes. First up, unintended public access. The immediate fix is to go into your IAM and bucket permission views and completely strip out any anonymous or public principals, unless there's a strictly documented business requirement. Second, excessive permissions. You have to enforce least privilege. Give applications and people exactly what they need to do their jobs and absolutely nothing more. Third, exposed secrets. Never store secrets as ordinary files in a bucket. Use a dedicated secret management service and rely on short-lived credentials. And finally, mixed data environments. You absolutely must physically isolate your development, testing, and production data. If an engineer accidentally makes a dev bucket public, it should not expose your production customer data. But here's the reality check. A static defense is never enough. Prevention alone will fail you eventually. You have to implement continuous monitoring. You need to feed your IAM and storage audit events directly into your CM, which is essentially your security command center. If a production bucket suddenly becomes publicly accessible, you should not be finding out about it on Twitter. You need a system that detects the unexpected permission change, instantly generates an alert, notifies the bucket owner, and ideally automatically reverts the policy back to a safe state. Automation is absolutely your best friend here. Part 6, the ultimate security checklist. Your final takeaway. Treat this essential 9-point checklist as a blueprint for your own environments. Let's run through it. Verify there is no unintended anonymous access. Lock down those IAM roles to least privilege. Physically separate your production and dev data. Migrate all your credentials over to a proper secret management system. Ensure your audit logging is not just turned on, but actually being reviewed. Set up strict alerting for any sensitive IAM or storage changes. Push your infrastructure policies into your CI/CD pipeline so misconfigurations get caught before they even deploy. Conduct regular manual and automated permission reviews. And finally, test your incident response process. If the absolute worst happens, you need muscle memory kicking in, not panic. A cloud bucket isn't dangerous because it's simple. It's dangerous because it can so quietly become a central repository for literally everything your startup cares about. Now, the answer to this threat isn't to run away from the cloud or to stop using cloud storage. The cloud is incredible. The answer is to design your architecture for least privilege from day one, continuously monitor your access controls, and automate your defenses. I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to take back to your teams today. Look at your own infrastructure and ask yourself honestly, are you one simple permission mistake away from a catastrophic chain reaction? And if that mistake happens tomorrow, do you have the automated monitoring in place to catch it and stop it before it destroys your startup?